Hi everyone, Amber with Yoga How To, and I'm also with Ladybug and Violet, and we are so happy to see you today, everyone. Something that happens to all of us is we lose our enthusiasm for our practice. And why does that happen and what can we do about it? We'll talk about that today, specifically with meditation, but you can apply this to, I think, any kind of yoga practice that you're doing. If we want to understand why our enthusiasm wanes with our meditation practice, why we start out and we're so excited and we're doing it all the time, and then slowly life comes in, we lose the enthusiasm, and as it wanes, so does our practice. It's really helpful to understand the concept of śhraddhā. And this is often translated as the word faith, but it's so much more than that. Śhraddhā is the idea of how everything we really believe, whichever belief is strongest and most dominant at the time, is going to show up with how we see our world, how we interact with our world, the choices we make, and then those choices are going to reiterate that belief system and make it stronger. So śhraddhā is really a process, and we can be in process with it. We don't see it as faith like in a religion or something like that. It is something that comes about through our actions. And really the crux of the problem, I think, with meditation in particular is we get to a point and maybe we start out and we're doing some every day and we've heard all of these wonderful things that will do for us. We've listened to our favorite YouTubers talk about this latest science and research on it. We've talked to our friends. Our teachers have told us how great it was for them. So we're getting all of this outside information, and that gives us enough śhraddhā, enough belief that we will start the process. But what tends to happen is we get to a point where we're not getting enough of the results to reinforce and build that śhraddhā, to outweigh our other beliefs. What do we really have faith in? What are these other things? In the Gita, there's quite a bit of discourse about what it could look like through the gunas. The gunas are the three constituents of nature. And we have first tamas, which, if this is the light of the self, it is the most obscuring. It's darkness. It's what veils us the most from remembering our true and abiding nature, that joyful state that we actually are. And so when we believe more in a tamasic sort of way of worldview, we are in a state of complete avidya, complete ignorance of who we really are. And so we take completely the impermanent for the permanent. We really feel like this is all there is. This is all that's going to ever be. Maybe even I can't have any impact in the world, or screw it, everyone's bad and out to get me, and there's nothing good, nothing worth fighting for, nothing beyond me, nothing beyond the senses, nothing beyond the body. It can be just a very heavy, dense, materialistic outlook. So we might know that our tamasic beliefs, or śhraddhā, have taken over. If we're walking down a street, everyone we see, we think, ooh, they're maybe an enemy, or they're looking at us with suspicion, or we just see the dark, ugly sidewalk with spit and gum on it, and we don't see the beautiful trees or hear the birds, that kind of thing. So it's going to impact what we're perceiving coming in also, as well as then how we act. And of course, if we act that way with our heads down, walk down the street, don't look at anyone in the eye, this sort of thing, we're going to get different results that then will reinforce that belief. Now, the next constituent of nature would be rajas. Rajas is movement. So this gets us going, but it also is where desire and aversion come from. So we kind of want to go get things. It gets us moving to go get things, but it also makes us go, ooh, I don't want to get that. I'm going to move away from that. Certainly desire and aversion come up in tamas also, but in rajas, we our belief, again, in just the material world, in the little s self over the big S self, that true and abiding nature, in our impermanence versus our permanent state, right? And getting them confused. In a Rajas mind view, this might be a different kind of materialism where it's getting things, acquiring things, spending time and money on looking a certain way, on meeting a certain bar socially, on, I don't even care about this kind of education I'm getting, but I'm going to make a lot of money in it. So this person might walk down that same street as our tamasic person, and they're going to see perhaps, oh, there's the car that person's driving, and make assessments on that person. They're going to see, oh, there's a piece of land for sale, or, oh, a business going out of business. How could I make a profit on that? That sort of thing, because what's happening is that basic belief in, I better get mine. I better get what I desire, which is stuff, because material stuff is what matters, and nothing really exists beyond this, even if I tell myself it does. The one time a week I do yoga or go to church or whatever the thing is. This is the stronger faith system. And so that is going to impact how that person acts in the world. And therefore, the results they get are going to, of course, reinforce that worldview and that Rajasic faith system. And then we have Sattva, which is light, purity, beingness. And this is the one that least obscures and best reflects for us that consciousness. It's really going to influence us. It's probably what influenced you to want to have a meditation practice in the first place, is there's enough of that belief that there's something more. There's something more going on here, and I want to explore it, right? Enough of a belief system to explore it, to seek peace, to seek harmony, and to really do these practices that are based on the idea that we are not just these material objects in the world. The thing is that faith for most of us is so much smaller than whatever kind of mix of rajas and tamas we have going on also, that we need to build it. We need to get the faith stronger in what Sutra 2.7 or 2.6. I'm kind of mixed up right now. But basically, avidya is our ignorance, and we really put our faith, again, we get confused here, and we believe that the impermanent is the permanent. We confuse pain with pleasure. That's another big one. If we really don't believe that our meditation practice is going to bring results and more pleasure, then it feels painful to sit down and do it, and to then give up the TV, which feels more pleasurable, even though it actually brings pain, ultimately watching too much TV, right? We believe when we are in a state, and we all are, of avidya, that my dog's walking by. You're so cute. I've lost my place, but you get the idea. We basically have everything flipped around on its side and on its head. And what our yoga practices do is they sattva-size the mind. They make us more luminous so that we better reflect the true nature that we are. But until we reach kind of this critical turning point, we don't see enough of those results in our lives to keep the enthusiasm peters out, and it's not enough, and our little bit of faith isn't enough. At this point, we have to make the hard decision, and that is to employ tapas. Tapas is, it comes from the root tap, which is to cook, and it's like it's heat, and it's burning, and it has to do with that fire of coming up against something we resist, but that we know will be good for us, and doing it anyway. And there's a real alchemy that happens when we do that, right? It can really be something that turns what feels like lead, I don't want to meditate, into gold. which is that illumination of, wow, meditation, it's changing me. It's changing my mindset. It's changing who I am. But I will tell you this, in my own life, in my own practice, I didn't get around the bend of that until I really decided to embrace the tapas. And at that point, I had to lengthen my practice. So I recommend when we start to do shorter practices, even 3 minutes. But there comes a point we're not getting enough of the results to build the faith. We're not getting that nice loop going. It's a kind of a samskara. It's an imprint on us that we want to make stronger, in which we believe strongly in the big S self and less in the material world. It's real, but it's only so important. And our practices give us the experiences that verify this for us. So it gets stronger and stronger, and that changes how we act in the world, and that can overcome some of these more harmful and painful ways of relating to the world through a tamasic or rajasic mindset. I had to, at some point, sit myself down and basically say, okay, if you want results, you've got to do it longer. You've got to meditate for longer. So at first, just doing it is what counts, and we build concentration. But then there comes a point where we've built enough concentration, but we're not getting results. And we need to, at that point, make a commitment. We have to get in there and dig in with some tapas, come up against that friction within ourselves of, I don't want to, that kicking and screaming, but it's hard, and oh, I could be doing this other thing instead. And we've just got to sit down and do it. And I know that's not the advice people want, but it's my advice. It is really the best way to then start to build those internal experiences of peace, of connection with who we really are, more and more and more, to let that shine through more and more and more, so that we get the śhraddhā. We actually start to build the faith, and then it can start to become a very self-perpetuating cycle. I'm still not there some days. A lot of days, I've just got to make myself do it. I recognize, I'm like, that's my tapas then. I'm going to do this anyway. It's going to be hard. I don't want to do it. I'd rather be sitting outside with my dogs, drinking a coffee, doing nothing or whatever. But I've got to do my practice. And I know every time I come up against that edge and that heat is built, that I am creating a change within myself. And I've done it enough that I see the changes in myself. I see one of the kinds of correct knowledge in the sutras is inference. So if we don't see the fire, but we see smoke, we can infer the fire is there. So if I'm seeing more peace, more joy, less anxiety, less worry, less focus on unimportant things in my life, then I can infer my practices are happening, and that for me builds faith. Okay, everyone, thanks so much. Let us know, how do you keep yourself on track with your belief that you are something greater than your smallest self? How do you keep yourself on track with habits that are perhaps hard and challenging? What has worked for you? I'd love to hear about it in the comments, and thank you always for being here. Please like, subscribe, and share.